Last week, the U.S. Justice Department indicted 3 former top executives of the Japanese-based Takata Corporation, a company that makes car airbags. They are accused of hiding vital information from automakers about defects in their product. Those defects resulted in the deaths of innocent drivers of autos that carried the Takata airbags. CBS transportation correspondent Chris Van Cleve reports the U.S. government's vowing to bring these foreign businessmen to justice.
The Department of Justice alleges the cover-up began more than 16 years ago. The 3 Takata executives' new test results showed their airbag inflators could explode, sending shrapnel into drivers and passengers. The defect has prompted the largest safety recall in U.S. history.
The risk that they allowed to happen is really reprehensible.
U.S. Attorney Barbara McQuaid said the executives put profit ahead of safety.
These 3 Takata executives routinely discussed in email messages the need to falsify reports to its customers. They referred in their emails to this process as Xing the data.
According to court documents, in February 2005, one executive emailed the others to say they had no choice but to manipulate the data. Another wrote in June of that year they needed to cross the bridge together. In addition, Takata has agreed to plead guilty to felony wire fraud and pay $1 billion in penalties.
Having to see her lay there and not talk to me when I try to talk to her anymore, it's really hard.
Paige Hayes' grandmother, Patricia Mincy, was paralyzed after her defective airbag overinflated in a minor crash in 2014. Mincy died due to complications from her injuries in April. The family's lawyer, Ted Leopold, said today's announcement is just a start.
But I think there is still more to be done, not only looking towards the Japanese company, but also looking at individuals involved in the U.S. Takata entity as well.
Takata says it deeply regrets the circumstances that have led to this situation. The 3 executives live in Japan, and prosecutors are working to extradite them to the U.S. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Washington.
Eric Chaffin's a personal injury attorney, the founding partner of Chaffin Luhana. He represents clients who have been affected by the Takata airbag scandal. Eric, back with us this morning on the Sunday Business Page. Welcome to you, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
If you don't mind me saying, this just boggles my mind. You know, I grew up with Ralph Nader. We had the Pinto with the deadly gas tank. We had the Corvair that flipped over. You're led to believe that we now are driving the safest cars ever, and then you have something like this. How does this happen?
Well, it's amazing that it happens, and it's particularly amazing here because Takata actually is a safety equipment company. So the very company that's put in charge of making our cars safer, that's what their business is. They're actually putting out a product that's more dangerous.
And apparently, from what the government is saying, they knew this problem existed, right?
They knew the problem existed. They covered it up. What they're actually charged with, the company's actually charged. And remember, companies don't get indicted very often because it's a very big issue. It kills the stock. It causes a lot of problems for the companies, for investors. So it's very strategically and carefully done. But the reality is here, we've got executives and the company that they're indicted, and the conduct is really wire fraud, meaning they're actually going out and covering up to auto manufacturers as well as to safety administrators what's going on with the testing of these products.
And why was that? Profit? Bonuses? What?
It's all profit. It's all profit driven, and I think that what we've seen and what I saw is
that the fix was too expensive?
The fix is expensive, but when you have so many airbags out there, for example, and you have a product that's out there so much in the public that once you say there's a problem and you're not changing your product, what happens? People start looking back and saying, okay, well, is there a problem this year? How many years back does it go? And guess what? We have a multi-billion-dollar problem for the company.
And I mentioned the Ford Pinto case. Ford actually calculated the cost of deaths when they put that car on the market. Do you think they made the same calculation here?
Possibly. Whether those documents will come out or not, we don't know. I think what we do know is that companies now, executives, the fact that we have emails here, and that's usually where we'll see it, is the conversations back and forth between executives or low-level people, and certainly the conduct here goes from the lower level to the very high levels, which is really one of the most reprehensible parts of this that the Justice Department is going after. And so it's not like the old Ford Pinto days, and you talk to a jury like I do today, often of people of our age, they know that case, they recall it, and they recall the calculations that people did in the bean counting that was done. Is not that specific, but on a more general level, it is done.
So tell us about your clients. How is it that they're being represented by you, and what are their injuries, the damages they've suffered?
The most prevalent injuries that we see right now is really the high impact injuries. The shrapnel cases are really the worst of them in terms of death cases. The ones that we're seeing more prevalent now is where it's just a really high impact injury from the airbags. It's like getting hit by an NFL linebacker or worse in the face, blunt force, in a fairly small impact case. That's what we're seeing more often.
Like the grandmother we saw in Chris Van Cleve's piece.
Unfortunately, yes. The grandmother types, that type of injury across a spectrum of individuals is what we're seeing.
So this litigation takes a long time, I assume, or do they have their checkbook out and settling quickly?
Well, we know that they have their checkbook out because we have $1 billion settlement with the government, $125 million of which is set aside for restitution for consumers. Another $850 million. It's a different dynamic with these cases. We have another $850 million that's earmarked to go to the auto manufacturers because, to some degree, they're victims here because they have to pay and help with this recall to be, effectuated, and it's a big ticket item. And so there's money set aside now. How that will be handed out is yet to be seen, but it provides some promise for the clients for a sooner payday for them.
If there's another victim out there from this travesty, how do they get a hold of you? What do they do?
We have our website. We've actually set up a website, a page on our website to go to, highvaluepilawyers.com/airbags. You can go there. If you're a consumer that's been injured, you can certainly get information about how to get representation through us or elsewhere. The other thing is that if you're somebody who has a car sitting at home and you haven't received a recall notice, and it's likely that you haven't if you're a second or third buyer of the car, you should go to our website, go to the government website, and actually look and see, because you can put your VIN number in. That VIN number that's on your car, you can put that right on the website, and you can tell whether your car is recalled or not.
Eric, I appreciate it. Good luck to you on those suits. Hope we don't have you back on another subject like this, but
I hope it's on a different issue.
I suspect it might happen. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now, when the Sunday Business page